Hello, and welcome back to the Mushroom Murder Trial podcast. My name is Lisa, and today we have a podcast about a major development in the Erin Patterson case. The Leongatha woman convicted of murdering 3 family members and almost killing another with a poisonous mushroom meal. Prosecutors in Victoria are now appealing against her sentence, arguing it was, quote, manifestly inadequate. Patterson, aged 51, was jailed for life last month with a non-parole period of 33 years. That means she'll be well into her 80s before she can even apply for parole. This is one of the longest sentences ever handed to a female offender in Australian history. But the Department of Public Prosecutions has confirmed it's not satisfied with the sentence. Prosecutors this week filed an appeal saying it was simply too lenient given the nature of Patterson's crimes, the deliberate poisoning of her in-laws. Meanwhile, we've also learned from Patterson's legal team that she planned to appeal her convictions, although as of now, nothing has been formally lodged. We covered that in Friday's episode, so if you want to dig into the background, go back and listen to that one. During sentencing last month in Melbourne's Supreme Court of Victoria, Justice Christopher Beale described Patterson's crimes as, quote, horrendous. Both sides had agreed a life sentence was appropriate, but the defence argued for a non-parole period, pointing out that Patterson had already endured solitary confinement since her arrest in 2023. The main issue put forward was the fact that her conditions in prison are considered onerous. Patterson is being held at the Dame Phyllis Frost Centre, Victoria's maximum security women's prison. She's kept in protective isolation, not because she's violent, but because she's a target. This is because of the high-profile nature of her crimes. But her barrister, Colin Mandy SC, told the court the sentence should reflect those conditions that she's confined to. As well, Justice Christopher Beale said he agreed with submissions made by the prosecution about Patterson's offending factors, and he would consider those in sentencing. But Mr. Mandy said she should receive a non-parole period. The reality is the murder's method, poisoning with mushrooms, makes this case especially chilling. It wasn't frenzied or impulsive. It was planned, cooked, served inside a family kitchen. So let's talk about sentencing law for a moment. There's no automatic life means life rule in Victoria. It's up to the judge to decide whether a life sentence includes a non-parole period or whether the offender will never be released. In Patterson's case, the judge set that 33-year minimum, which is effectively a lifetime at Patterson's age. But prosecutors clearly believe the punishment does not match the crime. For the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, to start an appeal, the Director must file a notice of appeal, including the grounds of appeal, written case of no more than 10 pages, and a list of authorities and materials relied upon to support the appeal. Inside the court, where the atmosphere was silent and sombre, the mother of 2 showed little emotion. In my opinion, she displayed no remorse, at times sitting in the dock with her eyes closed and even attempting to menace journalists as she left the courtroom. And it wasn't just me who noticed the tension. Nicole, one of our listeners over on YouTube, made this sharp observation after the hearing. She wrote, "Remember how Ian Wilkinson didn't thank the judge at the end when he addressed the media? He named everyone, including almost the town dog, but not the judge." Now, that was something I picked up on too. The omission, to me, in my opinion, felt deliberate and maybe even revealing a subtle way of signalling the family's dissatisfaction with the sentence. But then I remembered Robert Farquharson, who was sentenced to life with no prospect of parole before 30 years for the murder of his 3 sons. So that was the exact same sentence Erin received. But Crown appeals over sentencing are not unique. Here are 2 recent examples from around Australia to give you an idea of what happens with them. So in Newcastle in August, the Crown lost an appeal against the sentence handed to Tyrone Thompson. Now, this isn't the Newcastle Knights player. This was a man who stabbed 21-year-old Mackenzie Anderson 78 times in a domestic violence attack. He was already on parole for a previous assault against her and was sentenced to a minimum of 15 and a half years in May. The Crown argued that term, and the family as well, was too short, but the Court of Criminal Appeal ultimately dismissed their appeal. The DPP in New South Wales also lost another sentencing appeal in July after an ex-police officer who said, quote, "bugger it," before fatally tasering an elderly woman. Senior Constable Christian White will not spend a single day in jail following the court's finding that his sentence may have been, quote, lenient, but was not inadequate. The officer, aged 34, fatally tasered a 95-year-old woman, Claire Noland, at a nursing home in Cooma on May 17, 2023. But he avoided jail time after he was found guilty of manslaughter and instead was given a 2-year community corrections order and 425 hours of community service. So while the DPP's challenge in the Patterson case is significant, it's not guaranteed to succeed. So what happens next? If the appeal proceeds, it'll go before the Victorian Court of Appeal, where a panel of judges will determine whether Erin Patterson's sentence should be increased. For now, she remains in isolation at Dame Phyllis Frost Correctional Centre, her life and future in the hands of the courts again. Thank you so much for listening today. My name is Lisa. This is the Mushroom Murder Trial podcast. For more information, go to my website, mushroommurdertrial.com. And I hope you have a fantastic week. And thanks for joining me today. Bye.